Hi, it's Mark Bossert, producer of the Pawlik Automotive podcast and video series, and we're here with Bernie Pawlik. Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver, Vancouver's best automotive service experience and 20-time winners of Best Auto Repair in Vancouver as voted by their customers. And we're talking cars. How you doing this morning, Bernie?
Doing well.
So, 2006 GMC Sierra with a Duramax diesel. What was going on with this vehicle?
So this vehicle came to our shop with the diesel engine running extremely rough, a lot of knocking noises coming from the engine and a lot of smoke coming out. I mean, we're talking like a hideous amount of smoke pouring out the tailpipe when the engine was running.
Well, I know there's different types of smoke. What sort of smoke could you tell from? Was it inky black or was it
there was a lot
cloudy
of black,
white?
Yeah, there was a lot of black and grayness to it. And with the diesel, you know, as you're alluding to, you can do a lot of diagnosis with the diesel is done through the smoke that comes out the exhaust. If it's really white, usually indicates that there's not enough fuel, too much air. If it's really black, it's too much fuel, not enough air. You know, gray is kind of often we get gray in diesels that are over fueling, or the injection process isn't working properly. And then of course the blue smoke that can be from over fueling as well, or it can be, you know, from worn out engine. A bad head gasket, of course, can cause a lot of white smoke. So we have little tricks and ways to figure out what, you know, whether it's diesel fuel or whether it's engine oil. But in this case, there was just a lot of smoke coming out, and figured, you know, there was most likely a fuel injection problem of some sort.
So what diagnostic test did you run?
Diagnostic tests?
Yes.
Well, a scan tool is very useful in this vehicle. So this is a common rail system electronic. So the scan tool works fantastic to do it. There's a number of diagnostic tests we can do. One of them we did was there's a power contribution test to see which cylinder is contributing power to the operation of the engine. And it was pretty clear that number 4 cylinder, as soon as we killed that cylinder and shut it off, the knocking noise in the engine disappeared. Smoke was reduced, not gone, but the knocking noise in the engine disappeared right away. And even though the engine was still a bit shaky because it's only running on 7 cylinders, it was a definite noticeable difference. So we were onto something there for 1 cylinder. And there's also an injection balance rate. I believe I'm trying to think of the right term. Anyways, there's another PID to look at on the computer where it can tell how much the injectors are being compensated in terms of how much fuel they're delivering. And you know, there was another injector in a different cylinder that was quite a bit out of range for that as well. So we knew there was at least 2 bad injectors. So at that point, we have the option, we can remove all the injectors, send them out and have them tested. But in my past experience with doing that, it's like 9 out of 10 times, every injector is going to have some kind of, you know, not malfunction, but, you know, it's not going to meet the specs. And so with the age of the truck, it's, you know, well over 10 years old, quite a bit of mileage on it. It's time to just change all the injectors. Once 1 or 2 go bad, the others are, you know, probably not operating at 100% performance and need to be replaced.
So you concluded that the injectors were bad?
Absolutely, yeah. There was no doubt the injectors were the cause of the problem.
So how difficult is injector replacement in Duramax?
Well, it's not too bad on this particular model. The first generation Duramax, so it'd be a couple of years older than this model, required removing the valve cover. There's a lot of fuel pipe plumbing that need to be removed under the valve cover. It's quite a large job. I mean, I love Duramaxes. They're good engines, but that was definitely a downside of that particular engine. This one, however, the injectors are accessible without taking the valve cover off. It's still a fair bit of work, but you can undo all the injection pipes and change the injectors. Much simpler operation than in the previous. And there's no injector cups that go bad on these. It just everything just fits together a lot better. It's made for much easier servicing on this particular generation of Duramax.
And do we have some pictures?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Let's get into that. Okay, so there's our truck, a nice dually for hauling big loads. You know, with that big diesel, you can haul a lot with this particular vehicle. Next photo we've got is the fuel injector. So this is one of the old injectors removed. As I said, you can see it's pretty simple. There's just one one high pressure fuel line going to the injector. The electrical contact connection is there, and then the injection nozzle fits down into the cylinder there. There's the high pressure sealing ring, and then there's a couple of other little seals that just kind of keep dust and dirt out of the injector bore. So that's basically it. A nice simple slideshow. I mean, what goes wrong? I mean, there's electronics inside. Electronics inside here that fail. Also, the injection nozzles can fail as well to deliver the right amount of fuel, or they can be stuck open and just keep pumping like a fire hose. So that'll either. It's hard to know exactly what was wrong with this one. As I said, if we tested them, we could find out. But the testing in this case is really in the way the engine ran. We're back.
And how did the truck run after the repair?
There was a couple of things. So immediately upon starting it up, the engine was a V8, ran nice and smooth, no more knock noise. But one thing that was a little disturbing is that there was still a lot of smoke coming out of the exhaust, and it seemed like okay, what else could be wrong with it? But what we determined, we shut the engine off for a while and let it cool down. Started up, there was no smoke, but after driving it for a few minutes, the smoke would increase. And what we determined pretty quickly is there was just a lot of excess fuel, and the engine had been running so rich that it had been dumping fuel down into the exhaust system. The other issue too that we noted was that the engine seemed to be a little gutless. Like when you go to boot it, it would tend to lack power. So immediately brought it back to the shop and just made sure we didn't leave any turbo ducts loose, because that does happen from time to time. A duct will pop off. Verified that was all good. There's no leaks of any sort. So the best thing we did, we took it out for a good about hour and a half drive on the highway up and down hills. And after doing all that, the smoke cleared up because we burnt everything out of the exhaust. It was embarrassing for a little while, getting rid of that smoke. But once it disappeared, then the turbo, there was a couple of codes that kept returning for a turbo underboost. But after driving it for a while, just getting it really hot and burning everything out, it actually cleaned everything up in the turbo, and the engine at full power ran just fantastic.
So was that soot and buildup in the turbos from the overfueling situation?
That's what we figured probably happened. This is a variable geometry turbo. There's a vane that operates and moves, and it could have been, sticking. So I actually took it out for the road test out on the highway, and I could, see on the scan tool there's different things we can look at to see if it's actually responding the way it's supposed to. And initially it wasn't, and then it cleaned itself up. So this is one thing that, I realized a lot of times when we take on a repair like this, we think, okay, it's got the bad fuel injectors, and we need to remind our clients that, hey, by the way, there could still be other things afterwards, because you never know, if you've been driving it for a while like this, what other, I don't want to say damage, but what other issues may have occurred because of this. Fortunately, it was good news. It just required an extra long road test to clean everything up. But we're kind of concerned that maybe the turbo had been gummed up to the point of needing replacement, but it didn't. So. And
how are Duramax engines for reliability?
Well, I'd say they're good. They're certainly my first choice in terms of the American diesels, especially for the 06 model year. When you think, what did Ford offer? Well, they had their 6-liter, and you can look at our plethora of podcasts and videos about the 6-liter. You won't see much about a Duramax, and the Cummins are really good too. But I like the Duramax. They just seem to have that just little extra edge of reliability, and we very rarely ever do a lot of work on them. So that's, maybe not so good for us, but good if you own a diesel, a Duramax.
So there you go. If you're looking for service for your Duramax in Vancouver, the guys that see are Pawlik Automotive. You can reach them at 604-327-7112 to book your appointment. You have to book ahead. They're busy, or check out the website, pawlikautomotive.com. On the blog, there's literally hundreds of videos and articles about repairs, maintenance of all makes and models of cars over a lot of years. YouTube channel, Pawlik Auto Repair. Same thing, hundreds of videos. And of course, we really appreciate you watching and listening to the podcast. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for watching.